Okay, so guys.
Oh, they can see our setup.
It's okay, we can crop it. Guys, I'm about to talk to Mustafa and Brandon.
Are we actually recording right now?
From Ghost Hunters. And Brandon Alvis has entered the waiting room.
Brandon has entered the building.
Brandon's in the building.
Also, they're from A&E's Ghost Hunters, if you didn't already know.
Hi!
I'm going out my mind.
Hello, hold on here, hold on. There we go. Can you guys hear me?
There you
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys fine.
Awesome.
Perfect. Gotta get this angle here. There we go. That looks good. Perfect. Got my AirPods in.
I like the brick wall thing you have going on.
Yeah, it's not bad, huh?
I like it. We have a black wall.
Nice. That works. With the branding behind there. I like that.
Yeah.
We'll upgrade it eventually.
Hey, it works. It works.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
course.
I know you guys are
excited.
super busy, but
Oh yeah, for sure. It's been crazy in a good way, crazy in a bad way. Both strange times, but it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine.
I know. It's like we're living in a movie or something. This is just, it's
Yeah.
just weird.
Yeah, it's very strange.
All right, hold on. Let's get Mustafa in here.
Let's make it a party.
Make it a party.
It's a lovely picture.
It's an awesome picture. Looks like an A&E picture.
It is an A&E picture.
There we go.
Hey.
Look at you.
Yeah.
You driving?
No, I'm not now. I stopped the car, but I can drive if you think that'll make the podcast a little more dynamic.
Badly.
You guys see me okay? We're good?
Yeah,
Good.
we can see you
All
great.
right, cool. Yeah, all right, great.
Cool. Okay, so I'm Katie. This is Mandy. We're crazy.
Hello.
Hi.
And we're big fans of both of you.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
All the Ghost Hunters. I mean, even the original, like everything. We have been into this shit for
Followed
a
it
long
from the
time.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
we don't want to hear about them. Just talk about us.
Well, that's why we asked you to be on the show.
You're our favorites. That's why we asked you to both come on together.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's fun watching you two riff off of each other on TV because we're like, yeah, their personalities are pretty awesome. So we want to talk to them.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys.
So we don't usually, the way we do this is we usually just have a conversation. We don't have like a whole bunch of questions and stuff written down for you guys. It's just we just kind of want to shoot the breeze and see how it goes.
And learn about you.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
See what's up. Yeah. So, obvious, how did you guys, whoever wants to go first, how did you guys get into wanting to be, for lack of better terms, ghost hunters? You know what I mean? And get into the paranormal. What got you guys into it?
Go for it, Mustafa.
Whoever wants to go first.
All right, I'll go. I'll keep it short and sweet because but basically the house that I had moved into when I was a kid with my family was haunted. We moved in that first night. I'll never forget it. While my mom is like making everybody dinner, Eastern European mom, she has to do everything and more. We had moved in everything in that day into the living room, and then we're eating, and then I saw her walk into the living room, and then she starts speaking Albanian to my dad. And me as a kid, I always know, like, oh man, some shit's going down if this keeps happening. So I go into the living room, and I see that all of the stuff that we had moved in, which was in the center of the living room, was now moved. It was moved towards the back of the living room, and my dad's like telling her to calm down or whatever, and and they saw me standing there like, get out of here. I'm like, all right. And then later on that night, I'm sleeping in our upstairs bedroom with my older brother, and we're we hear these noises, and our room was right above the kitchen the way it was situated. So we look at each other and we're like, oh, okay, well, what's that? So we go down like the Goonies, like going down the stairwell.
Yeah.
We're walking down the long stairway in the middle of the room, and the noise is getting louder and louder and louder, and it's just amazing, kind of something seriously right out of a movie. And we can't believe that we're living it. And then we go and we see where the noise is coming from, and it's coming from the kitchen. So then we walk into the kitchen, we just stand in the doorway, and we see all of the cabinets in the kitchen just moving, opening and closing. The drawers, the dressers, all of them moving, opening and closing. So my older brother and I look at each other and we're like, oh, this is awesome. And our mom, I guess, heard us like being really excited, and she walks down the stairs, and she stands there, she sees it too, and she's freaking out, and she sends us upstairs. And then I think the next day, my great grandfather, who was a Hoja, like, you know, we're Muslim, family's Muslim, grew up Muslim, and he was a holy man. He came and he blessed the house, and that didn't fucking help. And then we still had like activity and stuff happen throughout the year. So for me, it was always like, although there was activity that occurred in the house a lot, there was nothing that was ever that crazy. And then as the years progressed, I was always really sick and tired of hearing my parents, like anytime anything went wrong in the home, it was like, you know, they blamed it on the jinn. They said it's a jinn in the house. It's a jinn. It's like, you know, our marriage sucks. It's like, it's the jinn. It's like, no, it's because you got an arranged marriage at 17, Mom. That's why your marriage sucks. Like, you know, or like, oh, we don't have any money. It's the jinn. He's cursing us. It's like, no, Dad, you have an 8th grade education in Macedonia, and you're investing in stocks, and like, you know, all you've ever done was like manage restaurants your whole life. Like that's why we don't have any money. So I kind of went to go and disprove the existence of jinn, and then I heard about paranormal investigating, and I read books about paranormal phenomenon, and then I'd have a lot of family members who they knew, everybody in our family knew that our house was the haunted house. So they would always like come to me, and I was like really religious, and they'd be like, oh, I'm having stuff going on. So I would go and basically try to investigate their home cases, but from the viewpoint of like, let me just help you with your personal problems, but I'm going to do the whole paranormal investigating almost as like a dog and pony show. But then what I had noticed was the more I would dig into these home cases, like I'd come across phenomena I really didn't understand, and I was left with more questions than answers. And from that point forward, I was hooked. It was always constantly just trying to disprove, like, was I crazy? Did I really see what I saw? And I remember it as clear as day. And I think, you know, Brandon will agree, like, you know, a lot of the cases that we've done together, it's like I'm more interested and more of a believer than I've ever been in a really, really long time.
That is so fascinating.
I mean,
I'm like, oh my God, tell me more.
here's what I got from that story is you saw cabinets opening and closing, and like drawers coming out and closing, and you're like,
Yeah.
I mean, nothing too crazy happened.
Yeah,
Like, most people don't see that.
it was about 4 out of 10. You know, it was just pretty. Yeah, but the craziest thing was like, you know, yeah, documenting was the best part. Yeah, it was definitely really cool. But that's where it started for me.
That's awesome.
Well, it makes sense.
yeah. That get me hooked. What about you, Brandon?
You know, my story is a bit different than Mustafa's, but you know, in 1995, I lost my oldest brother to cancer, and in 2004, I lost another brother to suicide. So that kind of set me on my journey into the paranormal. And like Mustafa, before I actually ever stepped foot out into the field, I started to read as much literature as possible about ghosts and hauntings, because I had to grow up at a very young age. I had to learn and cope with death and learn about the possible existence of a life after death. So I wanted to read as much as I could about psychic phenomena, hauntings, and ghosts. And then I got into it. I started to actually go out and actively investigate, and I started an organization called American Paranormal Research Association in 2006. And actually, before I ever stepped foot in the field, I reached out to various professionals from technical industries, you know, medical doctors, engineers, scientists, that have helped me remain grounded in scientific principle and going out there and trying to find empirical evidence and factual data to support these claims, these millions of claims every year of people experiencing paranormal phenomena and ghostly phenomena. So that's kind of where it started for me. It was more of a personal angle to get into it. And, I never really had an experience like Mustafa. I didn't live in a haunted house. I didn't really have any paranormal experiences. It was more about thinking about the possibility of life after death. And that's really what threw me into this field.
I love that. I love that. Do you, so first, let me say, I'm sorry to hear about your brothers.
Yeah.
I too have lost a brother to suicide. I know how hard that is on that level. Have you, just out of curiosity, have you had any experiences from family members ever?
Nothing that I would say is an encounter or an experience per se, but over the years, I've always had psychics approach me in public, at events, various parts of the country that always tell me the same thing, which is kind of interesting. There's a correlation there, a pattern that bring up my brothers. So that's, maybe that's an encounter, maybe that's a way for them to reach out to me, but it's never been a goal of mine or something I wanted to do by trying to reach out to them and speak with them. I was always just more interested in the possibility of an ultimate transition, but having these psychics throughout the country reach out to me and tell me very similar things, it's definitely something to think about. That's for sure.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. I have seen my brother one time. I think I've heard him once.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
All right, let me guys ask you what you think about this. So I've been into the paranormal like for my entire life, but as I got older and had kids, so we've had a few experiences, and most of them involved my kids seeing them more than myself. But my daughter, when she was probably 2, 3, something like that, we were getting in the car. I was dropping her off at my parents' house, and I was putting the baby. I had a baby also in a carrier, so I'm putting the baby in the car, and my 3-year-old said, "Mommy, what happened to that boy's face?" And I looked, and there's no boy. I said, "Oh, I don't know," And I said, "We got to go. Mommy's going to be late." So I put her in the car, and we're driving down the road, and a few minutes later, she is just cracking up in the back seat. And I'm like, "What's so funny?" And she said, "Mommy, the boy's flying next to the car." And I was like, "Awesome."
Is he?
Great. So then I dropped her off at my parents' house, went to work, didn't think anything about it after that. I was like, "Oh, it's weird. She's a 3-year-old." So the next day, same thing. I get them in the car, take them to my parents' house, and I'm running late as usual. So I'm like, "Hurry up. You got to get in the house. You got to get in the house." And she's like, "Mommy." I said, "What?" She said, "That boy is standing in the road." And I was like, "Okay. All right." So I'm like, "Well, tell him bye. We got to go. I got to go to work." And literally from that day for 2 years until we moved out of that house, even the day we moved into our new house, she mentioned this boy. And there were times when she'd be like, it never happened when my husband was around, ever. And then eventually she started seeing this one called the monster that the little boy was afraid of. And she would see him and she'd say, "Mommy, see, I told you he was here. He's right there." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." And then when she said the monster was coming downstairs, I would like freak out. Like that scared me, and I would go to my parents' house and take her with me. But I mean, have you heard stories like that? That like literally for 2 years straight, she mentioned this kid. Even when I was home alone, sometimes I'd hear someone say "mommy" and think it was my kids and realize they're not there,
Mm.
Oh yeah, no, it's common with children, especially. You know what I mean? They're more perceptive to all this stuff. And same with animals. It's something I've noticed in my time investigating the paranormal. You hear a lot of stories, just like you mentioned, and a lot of times you can pick up what some refer to as hitchhikers. You know what I mean? Maybe this little boy had some connection with your daughter in some capacity. Maybe she reminded him of someone in life, and somehow was wanting to get a story across in some capacity. So I've heard of stories very similar to that, and I do think it's a common phenomenon. It probably happens more often than people realize, to be honest.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah, because when I would bring it up to people, they'd be like, "Have you had her talk to a psychiatrist?" I'm like, "No, she's 3." I don't know. But I mean, it went away when we moved, so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Of all of the locations that you guys have been to, what is your favorite?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, there are favorites for different reasons. I think for what we're going for, there's two that ring out in my mind, but I'll say the one that I like the most personally was the Halsingland Hotel in Haines, Alaska.
Mhm.
Just I think the amount of time, there was like a 41 to 43 second kind of interval where so many different things happened. I don't know if you guys seen that particular case, but
Yeah.
yeah. So at that same moment where Daryl on his body cam, where he captured that amazing, full body apparition peeking out of the corner, right before that happened, I had experienced one of the witnesses' claims, which is paralysis for a few seconds. So for about 5 seconds, I couldn't move my arms, and I was so like pissed off because I looked to the camera and I was like, I'm really angry right now. I was like, because I'm experiencing exactly what the witnesses, the witness experience, what they claimed it was. But there's like, I wish there was a way to document this. That what I'm feeling is like, as I'm saying that, we start getting pressure changes on our data logger when nothing else was going off. But then what's really interesting is right when I said like I can't move my arms, Daryl's like, yeah, Daryl's like, I feel a tension in my lower back. So when we go back to review the evidence, in that time period, we had crazy drops in barometric pressure. So that's one. Two, not only did Daryl get the full body apparition on his body cam that he saw with his own eyes that caused him not once on the show, it showed him get charged once and he got scared. And
Right.
then what they didn't put in the show, and maybe because Daryl, it's kind of hilarious to kind of bitched him out a little bit because he's standing there. He's like, all right, you got me. Daryl, Mr. Tough Guy. He's
Yeah.
like, you got me once. Try it again. You won't get me again. And like 15 seconds later, they fucking got him again. And he's like, ah, and he like ran and jumped into the room. So there was that happened twice. But then when we went back to review the evidence, Brandon had set up the EMCCD camera, the electron multiplying camera at the end of the hallway, and people had reports of seeing this mist or a fog, and we captured that on the EMCCD. So also when we go to review the audio, and they didn't put this in the show, which was when Daryl says, right before he says, I feel a tension in my lower back, you hear like a guttural old man's voice say, I feel a tension in my lower back. And then Daryl goes, I feel a tension in my lower back. Yeah, so it's like, did it predict what he was going to say or influence what he said? I don't know. And then at that same time, a few seconds later, when Daryl's getting charged, you hear someone say what sounds like, it's me, like going through or whatever it was he was saying. And it was the same voice. And, the other thing I forgot was right before all this started happening, I think it was just me and a producer who was all the way at the other end of the hallway. We both smelled mothballs at like the same time. So it was really interesting. And then again, another thing they didn't freaking film, so fucking pissed, but I got it on my camera and I put it up on the YouTube page, was we're down there and then we're setting up the EMCCD camera for Kristen and Rochelle, who are about to go on a run in a FLIR, and we got all crazy kinds of stuff. I mean, footsteps and then aberrations
On that newspaper?
on the floor. Yeah, that
Remember?
newspaper. That
had the
nuts.
number of the room that was upstairs.
Yeah. So that was like, we were wigging out. So like, I think for what Brandon and I are really trying to accomplish, and then this is like, that's something I have to credit him for, is like, he was always like, okay, let's move away from just, the fucking jump scares. Let's move away from like old hats. Let's really, really put our best foot forward and document this stuff and subject it to scientific scrutiny. And in doing that, like, I know that there are a lot of investigators out there, especially ones on TV, and I'm not going to mention any names or whatever, but it's like they really do try to stay away from that because it's going to more often than not prove that your stuff that you're finding is very, very easily explained. But I think it's way more important to be wrong 1,000 times, and then that 1,001st time when you actually capture something fucking incredible and legitimate that no one can explain, that scientists can't explain. It's like, yeah, that's, now I can say with confidence, like, that's probably a fucking ghost. Like, it's really, really cool. So yeah, Alaska for me, just for the sheer variation of different kinds of phenomenon that was all captured in the same place generally, I think is, and then like Brandon said, like, you know, that newspaper that we were led to out of nowhere, like we were wigging out, like you had to have been there, but I recorded a lot of it on my phone, so it was
in the middle.
really...
We were literally standing there and setting up the camera, and then we turn around and there's a newspaper in the middle of the floor. It wasn't there like minutes before.
That's crazy.
It's like, what the hell? And we started to read. It was a newspaper from like 1950 or something like that.
Yeah.
And the news, the number of the paper said like edition whatever was the same number as the room that you guys had the entity sticking its head out, and you caught the body cam in the same area where we got the mist. So it's like, what the hell are the odds?
Yeah. See, when we've gone on ghost investigations, we go with like paranormal groups because we're not one. But you know, but generally there's like too many people there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, when I hear you guys talking, I'm like, all right, we have some of our own shit. Like we need to go and just do it, but we're too scared to go by ourselves. But I'd rather go by ourselves because like if there's a bunch of other people there making fucking noise, you're like, shut up, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's how you see it. Like you guys were alone in that section, and that's how you found it. But I know if that was us, we would be fucking terrified.
Yeah, I think honestly, what kind of like I'm not gonna shields us from whatever that fear is, because it does get like, you know, it is spooky, but we're kind of going in there with a very singular mindset, and it's we're truly excited at the prospect of coming across something that is going to not only be one fucking cool, but also very possibly make a breakthrough in a field that is in dire need of some like established protocol. So like that's what we're working for. So it's like where else are you gonna be? Like this is what we want to do. It's like, what else are you gonna be? You're gonna be on a freaking couch streaming Friends for the millionth time? It's like, fuck that. Like I'd much rather be doing this.
I would too, but you know, some of the places around here you'd need approval.
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll get arrested if we go in there. My husband is like, he's a relic hunter and like metal detector. He's like, I could show you all these abandoned haunted ass houses around here. And Katie's like, let's go. And I'm like, no, we're not allowed to be there. We'll get arrested.
Do it.
Besides.
Well, Brandon, what was your favorite place, dude?
Oh, you know, I'd have to probably say Fort Stanton, not only because the unbelievable amount of history associated with the place, but the credibility associated with our eyewitnesses. You know, these people that work for a state park system that were, I mean, credible, and everything they told us seemed to be legit. But this is one of the first locations we obviously used the EMCCD camera, the electron multiplying camera. And that's where the huge breakthrough started, right? Utilizing this camera down the same hallway where one of our eyewitnesses claimed to see this apparition over and over again over a span of years. And we utilized that camera, and we had this amazing figure that you guys see in the episode of Fort Stanton, where it peeks its head out, very similar to what happened in Alaska, which is yet again, we're looking for those patterns, we're looking for those trends, and we're starting to see that. Especially between Alaska and Fort Stanton. But I'd have to say Fort Stanton, man. What a breakthrough. We figured out that we may have a possible explanation as to the mechanics behind manifestations of ghosts. And that would be through photon events and the matter associated with that. So that to me was a huge moment and a place that I'll never forget.
Yeah, that it's always Alaska and Fort Stanton with me. It's always like, I love those two places, man.
I remember watching the Alaska episode, and I was like, I'm watching it again. Like, turn on the. That was one of the best episodes, and I was literally like, "Oh my god, look at this shit!" I'm like, "Betty, watch this episode." It was crazy.
I know.
It was so good. What was it like for you guys? Because you guys went remote this last season. So what was that like? I mean, what was travel like? Going to bumfuck America, like being okay. So like, please. So like, okay, you're in these little itty bitty places. I can only imagine the amount of, you know, flights aside, how long you were in a car or a truck or a bus or what have you to get to these places. What was that like for you guys?
Crazy.
I mean, yeah, it was nuts. It was a lot of It was a lot of travel. It's tough being away from, family, especially when you got stuff going on at home. But I'll get all verklempt talking about it. But like, honestly, traveling with like, Brandon, is fucking great, man. I mean, we really do make the most of it. And we're blasting out with like dope ass playlists, and we definitely had our clicks in the car where it was like, okay, I'm gonna travel with like Brandon and Daryl because we have the music that we like and this is the vibe that we have, so like we're gonna do that. So it was nuts, but it really did feel cool because it's like, wow, you're doing something that nobody else has ever done before. Like this shit that's written about. Like this is the stuff that's written about in books, and with our book, like literally, it's like, plug, but like, we're literally fucking living what people write about and dream about. So it's like, yeah, it sucked at some points. It's not easy. Like, when you're on the road for 3 weeks straight, and your wife or your girlfriend's calling you and they're crying and, they miss you and stuff. And that sucks. And I'm FaceTiming with my kids and it's like, oh, that blows. But to me, I think it's better to set that example of like, well, now I better go and fucking make the most of this, and set a good example for my kids and do something good for, as corny as it sounds, like my family name. Like this is it. Like you're out there and you're doing the good work.
Doing it.
Exactly, and people don't realize, because I mean they see a 42-minute episode, they don't realize the extreme amount of hours that we are going through to not only get to a location, but once we're there, all the investigation, the research, the analysis, all of these different things that people will never see or really never understand unless you've actually been there and experienced it. So it was great, traveling with Mustafa and Daryl and being a part of our long car rides, because you don't get a lot of time to let off steam. You know what I mean? You just really don't. And those were times that we had an opportunity to do that. And we had some really good times for sure.
Yeah, it was dope.
I mean, you guys have the best job in the world. Like
Literally the best job in the world.
I mean, I do hair and it's like fun, I guess. But hunting ghosts is like my shit. Like that's the best. You guys have the best job.
You guys have the coolest job in the world.
Mustafa, I get it because I have kids too, and that would be so fucking heart wrenching if they like video.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Brian and Rochelle have kids too, and Daryl's got kids. Daryl's a granddad, so it's tough. But yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. He's got the grandpa beard. I mean, come on.
Old man Daryl.
I know. It's not like, yeah.
It was definitely really, it was awesome. But like, you mentioned like, oh, it's like the greatest jobs in the world. But like Brandon will talk about this, especially when we first started the show. It's like we still had other jobs. Like I still write for Distractify. So like there would be 3-4 days at a time. Like we wouldn't sleep when Brandon was still working and he had his job. He was working remote. It's like, okay, investigation's done. Now I have to set aside 4 hours to like cram all this other work I got to do in. Like you can't even sleep. You have like 40 minutes before your call time. So you just lay down in like a dark hotel room and then hope that like parts of your brain shut down and then you wake up. And yeah, we were definitely Landell's Mohican Castle. I don't think I slept at all. Like I didn't sleep for like 5 days. Yeah, but it was dope. It was worth it. You're living your dream.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. I'm super jealous, but
you should be. It's great.
So you guys are working on a project together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we are very lucky to have signed a deal with Llewellyn Worldwide, which is one of my favorite publishers out there. They've been publishing books for 116 years, some crazy number like that. And Mustafa and I have been working very hard on a book, and I think that people are really going to like it. Someone close to us that's seen it refers to it as the Grey's Anatomy of the paranormal. So I think that
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
People,
that's
not
like,
the shitty TV show, the actual.
but like, that sounds like for that type of yeah, the shitty TV show. For that type of like acclaim though, I mean that's a comment for you.
Yeah, no, it's great, and it's one thing for us to sit there and write it and go back and forth and work on this thing, but it's always different to see someone else read it, because for us it's things that we lived and we experienced and our ideas and our opinions that we share, but it's another thing to have people we know read it and say, hey man, this is something special. So we're really excited about it, and I can't wait to get it out there, and I can't wait for the field to hopefully adapt some of the things we talk about in the book.
Yeah.
Is there a release date?
It's going to be early, I think first quarter 2021. It's going to come
like
out.
that,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we will definitely look for that.
Definitely.
Is there actually another Grey's Anatomy thing that's not the show?
No.
Okay, you guys are joking. Okay.
No, it's
I was
virtually
really.
a manual. Like it's a book
Yes.
about
Yeah.
anatomy.
All right.
Yeah. It's where the show got the name, you uncultured swine. What do you It's like, oh, the Bible? Like, wasn't that like a PBS series? It's like, no, it's
Wasn't that produced by Mark Burnett?
I was like, not the shitty TV show. What's the other Grey's Anatomy? All right.
Yeah, the
Back.
book.
I didn't know there was a book. That
Oh
part.
no worries, Ruth.
Yeah, it's fine. We're fucking with you. It's fine. Yeah.
I didn't say that, but I was so curious that I decided to.
No, it's fine.
So, what did you guys? So, the last episode I watched of Ghost Hunters was the Waverly Hills one because I want to go there so bad. We actually know someone who used to work there. Jesse used to work there.
Oh, okay.
But Grant was like so excited to bring you guys there, and
I thought Brandon, I thought
you'd
you
already
were
been
gonna
there.
jump out of your damn skin.
But what are some of the crazy things that you? Is there anything that didn't get on the show that you experienced at Waverly?
Not really. I think they kind of captured all that, and it made. I mean, the moment for me that really sticks out is when we got locked in the death tunnel. I mean, that's what a moment is that. You know what I mean? And that was crazy to have the owner Tina actually come back out to the death tunnel with her huge prison key ring with all these different keys on it, and have to actually unlock us was shocking for her and shocking for all of us because we can't lock it. It's literally takes a key on both sides.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a moment that was intense, especially because that actually set off a chain of events I think are very interesting that later correlated with Mustafa and Daryl's experience on, I think, was it the third floor or the fourth floor?
I think it was the third floor, and the fourth floor was the roof. Yeah. So it was the third floor, and that's what's really interesting is because it's kind of frustrating because we're seeing these shadow figures. You know, I'm there investigating with Brandon. It's like, yo, are you seeing stuff? You're seeing stuff, and we're seeing it on the FLIR, and it always kind of felt like really tentative. And you know, you go into these investigations, and you know, Brandon and I, from our first investigation that we ever did together, just didn't even go on TV. Like we always kind of had this, oh, I know what you're thinking. Okay, cool. Let's go down this path. And it was just the whole talking about the, you know, the death and the tuberculosis and like all the sadness there. I'm like, God, like what would these entities like, you know, wanna do? Like what, like how would they live? You know, not survive, live. Like, you know, if you have a friend who's in the hospital, you're not gonna wanna like, I'm so, man, you look terrible and stuff. You want to go there and crack jokes and try to make them feel like they're not in a goddamn hospital. So that's when the idea that, like, you know, we had, like, based off of what happened to us in the death tunnel, I was like, yo, are they trying to prank us? And I rember saying to Brandon, like, we're down there, I'm like, dude, I feel like something's trying to fuck with us. And the cameraman's like, you can't curse. And I was like, I feel like something's trying to mess with us.
Someone's trying to, you can't curse. Fuck you, Eric.
Fuck you, Eric. You fucking bitch.
I mean, if I would fuck with people. For sure.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what happened.
Well, not only that, yeah, when we're standing there, I mean, at the very beginning of the whole scenario, we're standing at the very top of this death tunnel that goes, I mean, way down into the earth. I mean, it's actually kind of intimidating to see. And you hear this classic ghost moan, like the toys you see in Halloween. Like, it sounded just like that. It was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
This is goofy. And then that's where Mustafa started going down that path. And it paid off later, for sure.
Yeah. I would probably pass out, but I want to believe that I would.
I would die.
Yeah, I would say the only thing is like when Daryl and I were getting those interactions, like what the only thing they didn't show was how many times we basically reconfirmed, like, okay, so do you know that paranormal investigators come here? Do you prank them? And then we got hits on our data logger. Then we started talking again about like tuberculosis and sickness, nothing. Then we went again, like, so did you prank Brandon and I, when we were in the death tunnel, in the tunnel, boom, and then we started getting pressure hits. So there was a lot of back and forth. But I do, so many times there's like, why didn't they put this in the show? But I felt like they did a good job of capturing that in essence. But like that went on for way longer than was shown in the show. And then even when we were at Worley Hospital in Pampa, Texas, which was the season 1 finale, Brandon and I think it was like something like 27 minutes long, maybe even longer, of just constant back and forth and just like, yes and no, like yes questions, boom, 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 getting hits. And it was great.
That first place that you guys went, I can't remember where it is.
Pocatello High School?
No, it was like that town where like half the town seemed to like want your guys' help, and then the other half angry or
Clifton,
whatever.
Arizona.
Where the car got
Where the car got
when you were driving, it had like a big old dent on it.
So what was that? What happened?
Did you figure that out?
We still have no idea what the hell happened in that situation at all. We do know that there was a lot of animosity towards us in some situations, but majority of the town, 99% of the town loved us. We loved them. They brought us gifts. They brought us food. Everything. It was great. It was a really good experience.
Part of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. They actually made us part of the city. Exactly.
That's crazy.
We're part of the city now, But it's not normal to walk around a town and have a man walk out of the riverbed and walk up to Grant, myself, and Brian and say, "Hey guys, I'll show you where the killing happens." That's not normal. You know what I mean? And then later, Mustafa and Daryl have an encounter with a man that is arrested. Threatened that he was going to kill all
released, and he was just released from prison like 4 hours earlier.
What?
So yeah.
And then not only that, Daryl and Mustafa are waiting to go into one of the buildings, which we, had full access to, but we had to lock everything up when we were done because apparently there was problems. And when one of our producers walks up to Daryl and Mustafa and says the cops just came by and said, "Be aware of this guy wearing a hat."
Oh,
I
that
guess it was
was
a red
awesome.
hat. And I guess he had like an axe or something like that. Was it a weapon or something? I can't remember exactly.
An axe.
Yeah. Well, what was really interesting was I was talking with I was talking with my cousin, and also I think Rochelle's husband had mentioned it too, and we forgot about that. But when they looked at the damage done to the side of the car, and I went and I showed my cousin the photos too. He was like, "Dude, that looks like buckshot, like in the side of the car. Like that looks like seriously someone tried to spray like the car. It was like a shotgun, like buckshot, just like trying to hit it." So it was loud, and it was right by Brandon's head. Like it was nuts. Like, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe someone's trying to shoot the tire out or something. I don't know what it was.
Damn. That's terrifying.
Yeah, but we were rolling around in a green Escalade. I mean, it's like the least conspicuous vehicle in the world,
In a town with a population of like 1,000, if that, you know what I mean?
And their grocery store was a Circle K, so it's like, I would feel some type of way if some, guys I don't really like are rolling around in an $85,000, Escalade, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely made some enemies there.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, it was weird.
For nothing.
For nothing.
They're crazy people, but I mean, you could have gotten really hurt. You guys got so lucky.
Well, yeah.
There was times where we'd be out in this. Yeah, there was times where we'd be out in the street, and there would be people walking around in these dark corners at 3 a.m. and we're like, "Oh, this is sketchy,"
Oh yeah.
Well, what did a coach say to you about the witches?
Oh no, yeah, I was standing there. So if you guys remember the episode, you saw Grant, myself, and Daryl talking to a coach like in the street, getting a briefing. And as we're shooting that, obviously it's not in the episode. This car drives up, and this woman starts like shouting like "oogie boogie boogie" gibberish shit out of the window. We're like, "What the hell was that?" And he's all, "Oh, that's just one of the town's witches." I was like, "Witches?" He's like, "Yeah, she's one of the good ones. She's a white witch, not a dark witch, so you don't have to worry about her." I was like, a city official is acknowledging the presence of witches in his town right now, and we're not going to talk about that. Like, I looked over at Grant and Daryl. I'm like, "What? Why are we not talking about this?"
Can we get her over here?
And then the crew's like, okay, move on, let's continue. I'm like, no, we have like no continuing right now. What are you talking about, dude?
An elected official is talking of like, oh yeah, it's just a witch. It's like, oh yeah, that's just our Balrog in the dungeon over there. But anyway, here's our fiscal plan for 2020. It's like, what?
And not only that, dude, like if you remember, we had people coming up to us and talking about how there was a coven of witches that were very dark in nature that were pushed out of town in the 70s. Like they were driven out of town. And like that right there was the moment I knew that something was different about Clifton. And we later learned that, you know, with the evidence we collected during our investigations, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus. I was not expecting like witches and like people yelling shit out of cars. Jeez.
Yeah, same here. And there's there's a lot of strange things and a lot of stuff that didn't make the episode, obviously. And that was a 2-parter, and there was so much going on. The state highway that used to run through there was Route 666, and they changed it. And going back, there was a TV show back in the 80s. Phil Donahue, I think, is what it was, and he had witches on his show. And he said, if there's an evil place in this country, where would it be? And on the show, apparently, they point on a map and said Clifton, Arizona.
That's nuts.
Is that the craziest experience you guys have had while trying to film in a location?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think it gets more nuts than that. I say while filming, and then there was also trying to leave Haines, Alaska, where like we got delayed a day, and then we couldn't even leave the dock on the second day because like the boat, like when you see a grizzled guy who looks like he's a member of Deadliest Catch, like sitting there all cool, and then we hit a wave, and then he's just like gulp, and then he runs back to like talk to the captain, and they had to turn the boat around. Like we were like, damn,
twice we had to go through that. That was a moment I thought for sure. I was like, this is it, man. We're not going to make it. This is the moment where we all die a horrible death in icy cold water. Because if that glass would have broke on that tin can of a boat that we were in, we would have drowned. I mean, we would have froze to death for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
we were carting over some like high school kids too. Like, so like there was like that added pressure. So I started looking, I was like, which one of these kids can float? Because I was just going to like build a raft. I was just going to build I was going to make sure they were adults, and then I was going to use them to float. But
You're going to be my flotation dummy.
Yeah, and we were there in February.
Yeah,
like the coldest month of the year in Alaska, so it was pretty nuts.
And then not only that, when we had to come back and we weren't able to get out of the channel, we came back and went to the only establishment that's open in the town, which is a bar that's open 24/7, by the way. We went in. Yeah, right. We walk in and we're telling the people. Well, days before that, people warned us that we probably wouldn't be able to get out. That was something that was floated to us at one point. We come back and the bartender's like, "Oh, you guys got lucky. 7 fishermen died in that channel a couple weeks ago, so you're good."
Yeah.
Cool.
Nothing left to do but drink Ice House. $2.50 Ice House.
Can't be $2.50 Ice House, man.
Ice House.
How many extra days were you guys there?
Like 2, right?
Yeah, 2 extra days. Yeah.
That sucks. I mean, it's not.
It was scary.
So when you're
and you're in the middle of
nowhere
in Alaska.
Yeah, and the second attempt to leave, luckily we had this, boat captain. This guy was young too, man. He was probably like early 30s, and he, avoided these waves by going all the way to the shoreline and just cutting across and just gunning it as fast as this boat can go. Because there was only one section we had to get past, and it would be smooth sailing from there. And it was scary, but he got us through it, man. He did it.
Yeah, he was a badass. He was totally badass. And it's like we only had we left, tried to dock, and then it was like we couldn't even leave the dock at one point. So they were chilling at the bar, and then we get the text from Buddy, our production coordinator. He's like, "Guys, let's go, wheels up." We went there and we had probably like a 40-minute window, and then it was back to really, really choppy water. So if we missed that 40-minute window, we would have probably been there an extra day or 2, or God knows how long. Yeah.
Still be in Alaska.
Yeah, to this day.
You never know.
Just living there now. We're Alaskans now.
Someone come get me.
This is my life. I'm an Eskimo. I don't do choppy water. That is the most terrifying thing I can think of.
Yeah,
it was scary.
It was nuts.
It gives me anxiety just thinking about your story. So That's not something I would want.
They should have put it in the show. Honestly, they should have started rolling on it. Honestly,
that would have been dope. I thought so too. Brandon and I, it's like, oh, we might die, but then like in our heads, we're like, this would be great. Like, let's film this. Let's film this.
roll the cameras. Roll the
Both
cameras.
going down, using a fucking mouth.
Yeah, set up the GoPros.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was freaky.
That would go viral for sure.
Yeah. For other reasons.
Yeah, I know.
Goodness gracious. So, are you guys filming now, or are you guys still on hold because of COVID?
Oh yeah, it's all
cool.
shut down right now. All shut down.
So, what are you guys doing in the meantime besides talking to podcasters? Brandon, I saw you were on
Crazy people like us.
crazy bitches. I saw you were on who was it?
Jim Harold.
Jim Harold on Sunday.
Yeah. Jim's awesome, man. That
Yeah.
guy is a pro, dude. That guy is unbelievable. He hit me with some hard questions, man, which is good. I like it. It was fun. It was good.
Yeah.
You know, we had a really serious discussion about like the science-based stuff, which was awesome. But
Yeah.
so that was cool. That was cool.
I'm
But
sorry.
we wrote a book though. Hey, we wrote a book during quarantine.
Yeah. We wrote a book, and you completely like re-edited a feature-length film, and like in Cemetery Park, which is like fucking incredible true crime story. And then we got other fire stoking and the other projects that we can't talk about just yet. But we've been busy little bees. And I can't wait for you guys to see what we've been working on. I can't wait for you guys to see just like the title of the book, the ideas that we have. We can't say anything because we have to clear everything with Llewellyn. But yeah, it's so good. Like every day, like I'm just like, I look at the stuff that we have and I was like, I never in a million years would think that I'd be capable of producing something that I'm like so proud of. It's just such a great feeling. I feel like a fucking winner, Dad. I feel like a winner.
I want that level of like,
See, you know what? We relate to you in a way, like, I mean, we're peons at this point. But I am doing the same thing you did. Like, I am working, and then I get home, and I'm editing podcasts, and I'm, like, doing all this shit, and my husband's fucking mad at me because I'm not showing him enough attention. And I'm like, I don't want to do – I've been at my salon almost 21 years.
Wow.
Dude, I want to do something fucking different. He's like, well, you know, it's just the podcast. I'm like,
it's not just a podcast.
If I work on it hard enough, that'll, you know, I don't have to do
tell that to Joe Rogan.
Right.
It's 70K an episode. Like, you know, tell that to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Right. I get what you're saying where you were like, I just got to close my eyes and go to sleep because you had your 2 jobs. And that's what I'm doing right now. And yes, I have kids and I have a husband, but you guys are super inspiring for that stuff. I mean,
thank you. No, we stay busy, man. Mustafa and I, that's one thing about us, and you know why we get along so well is because our work ethic is identical. I mean, him and I do not stop. You know, we rarely sleep. We're constantly working. We're constantly coming up with new ideas and putting those things into motion. And that's something that, you know, him and I really hit it off about.
Yeah.
And then we continue to work together continuously. Every day we're in communication and contact about projects, and we're working on some stuff I think that's gonna revolutionize the paranormal field, and I think that people are really gonna like that. And can't say too much, but we're working on something.
Well, maybe when you can say more, we can talk to you again about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Give us your secrets.
Maybe I won't be doing hair at that point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, thank you guys so much. This was so much fun.
You guys
I'm
are
sorry.
awesome.
You had to fucking pull over on the side of the road.
I know, I feel so bad.
No, it's cool. I was speaking of working, I was in the rehearsal or director session for this thing. It's like one of the few projects they're actually shooting in New York City. So, I got cast for it, and so I'm here and I'm doing that, and yeah, I'm really excited. We finished the rehearsal. I'm like, I gotta go. I'm like, all right, cool. So like, perfect spot, and yeah, I'm here. I always have it. I literally carry my.
Whatever you're doing in New York.
I carry around like a lighting rig. Like I have a ring light here. I have it all. Like
we have one in front of us.
I was going to comment on your lighting and be like, spill your secrets. Because I want to know. You look so fucking good in a car.
It's a little ring light. That's it. I have it right here, so we're good.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Ugh, I'm so sad it's over.
I know.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
You guys are fucking awesome. Thank you so much for being on our show.
So much. And please when all your secrets are able to be spoken about, please let us talk to you again. This was so
Yeah.
fun.
For sure.
You
Yeah,
know,
you got
For
it.
sure.
messages. You know, when the book comes out and when all these projects are coming
We're
out, be
friends
like,
now.
talk to me. I want.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah,
know.
We'll put
All
the
right,
second
guys.
we know, we let everybody know. It's just like it was hard keeping the book in the announcements like when, and it was crazy, like Brandon just set it out to like a bunch of publishers and we got like tons of responses just like right away. So that was really, really, really encouraging. So yeah, to follow us on social and you'll see we'll announce everything.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You
All
too.
right, take care.
Bye.
Bye. See you.